What if the most basic fact about a person, their age, was the biggest secret of all? It sounds like a movie plot, but it's the bizarre, persistent rabbit hole that surrounds Meghan Markle. We are talking about photos that do not add up, timelines that feel fuzzy, and official documents that have been quietly, and very strangely, altered. If you live for dissecting this kind of celebrity chaos, do yourself a favor and subscribe to the Star Report. You and I have a lot to discuss. The Northwestern Enigma. Our investigation begins not in a palace, but in Evanston, Illinois, at the prestigious Northwestern University. The official story is this. Meghan, a bright and ambitious student, graduated in 2003 with a double major. According to her 1981 birth date, this would make her a very normal 22-year-old. It all checks out. It is clean, it is impressive, it fits the narrative, until you see the other photos. The internet, in its obsessive, detective-like glory, unearthed a group photo from her time in the Northwestern Salsa Club. At first glance, it is nothing. Just a bunch of students in the early 2000s, posing for a club picture. But the longer you look at it, the weirder it gets. Internet sleuths immediately pointed out something that, once you see it, you cannot unsee. Meghan looks young, very young, like suspiciously younger than everyone else in the photo. The whispers started small, then got louder. People started trying to identify the other students in the picture. And the rumor that exploded was that her supposed classmates in that photo were not 21 or 22. They were allegedly closer to 30. Some internet detectives have claimed, with receipts, trying to break into Hollywood as a 22-year-old ingenue instead of a 30-something hopeful, making them nearly a decade older than her. This one photo cracks the entire timeline wide open. What was she doing there? Was she a child prodigy who started college at 15? Or were these grad students? Or is the entire official timeline wrong? This is the clue that started it all. It is the image that makes people ask the question out loud. Is it possible she was much older than she claimed, trying to break into Hollywood as a 22-year-old ingenue instead of a 30-something hopeful? It also adds to the complex brand she was building. She was a member of the Kappa Kappa Gamma sorority, where she was reportedly the recruitment chair, a job that requires an almost political level of charm and persuasiveness. Her double major was in theater and international studies. Think about that. The perfect combination, the actress and the humanitarian, all rolled into one. It shows that this dual identity, the one we see today, was not an accident. It was a plan, baked in from the very beginning. The salsa photo just makes us wonder, when did that beginning actually start? The sister versus sister showdown. For years, this was all just internet chatter. It was the kind of thing you would read on a wild forum at 3 in the morning. And then, her half-sister, Samantha Markle, dragged the entire conspiracy into the legal system. The defamation lawsuit Samantha filed against Meghan is a masterclass in chaotic family drama. Samantha is, to put it mildly, not a fan. She is suing Meghan over the narrative presented in the Oprah interview and the Netflix documentary, claiming it was all a pack of lies. And while the headlines focused on the he said, she said of their childhood, the real bombshells were in the details. Samantha's core argument is that Meghan fabricated a rags to riches story, and a central part of that alleged fabrication, according to Samantha's legal filings, is her age. This is where it gets truly wild. It is no longer just internet sleuths. It is a sworn statement, in a court of law, from her own sister, calling her official age into question. Samantha's case alleges that Meghan is lying about being 12 years younger than her, and that this lie is part of a broader, calculated effort to distance herself from her family and invent a more palatable life story. But the lawsuit went even deeper. Samantha claimed Meghan lied to Oprah when she said she grew up in virtual poverty. Samantha's team provided receipts, claiming their father, Thomas Markle, paid for everything. He allegedly paid for her expensive private schooling at Immaculate Heart. He paid for her Northwestern tuition. He paid for her travel. This lawsuit, whether it fails or succeeds, is devastating. It paints a picture of a daughter who, according to her sister, took all the resources from her family and then, once she made it, publicly erased them and the support they gave her, all to create a more compelling, I made it on my own narrative. It successfully laundered a fringe internet theory into a mainstream news headline. The first husband. This theme of erasing the past gets even more shocking when you look at her life right before Harry. Many people completely forget that Meghan was married before, and the story of how that marriage ended is, according to biographers, one of the coldest stories in Hollywood. She was with film producer Trevor Engelson for 7 years. They dated, lived together, and built a life. He was, by all accounts, supportive of her budding career, even reportedly helping her get a small role in a film he was producing. They got married in a huge 4-day-long beach party in Jamaica in 2011. It was, by all accounts, a wild time. And then, just 2 years later, it was over. The why is where it gets messy. The moment her career took off with Suits, the long-distance relationship between Los Angeles and Toronto became a strain. But it was the way it ended that left people's jaws on the floor. According to royal biographer Andrew Morton, the decision was entirely Meghan's, and it came totally out of the blue for Trevor. The most brutal detail? A wealthy entrepreneur friend claimed that Meghan sent her wedding and engagement rings back to Trevor. Not in a box, not with a conversation. By registered post, she allegedly mailed them back, like a laptop you are returning to a warehouse. Trevor Engelson was, in essence, the first person to be scrubbed. He was chapter 1 of a story she was now editing. When she met Harry, it was as Meghan Markle, the actress and humanitarian, not Meghan Markle, the divorcee, whose first marriage ended with a thud. The speed and alleged coldness of that split became a pattern, a shocking detail that was a preview of how she would later handle her father, her childhood friends, and eventually, the entire royal family. The homecoming queen's return. This aggressive management of her own story makes you look at her past in a new light. Which brings us to Exhibit A, the photo of Meghan as a senior at her all-girls Catholic school, Immaculate Heart. You have seen this picture. It is perfect. She is young, she is beaming, and it is the quintessential all-American girl next door fantasy. It is also, without a doubt, her publicist's favorite photo. This photo is the before picture for her entire fairy tale narrative. It is the proof. See? She was always this bright, this special, this destined for something more. This is the photo that gets dusted off and trotted out every single time the press cycle gets a little rough. When the tabloids are calling her difficult, this photo reappears. When the royal drama hits a new peak, this photo pops up in a puff piece. It is her PR shield. It is meant to disarm you, to remind you of the sweet, innocent girl from California before all the drama, before the palace, before the chaos. And honestly, it is a brilliant strategy. It is hard to be cynical about a smiling teenager in a graduation gown, but that is exactly what makes it part of this story. The persistence of this one image, used so strategically, has made people start to question what other images, what other parts of her past, are being kept locked in the vault. It establishes a pattern, a theme that will follow her for her entire life, the careful, meticulous, and constant management of her own story. The case of the disappearing name. If you think her past is managed, just wait until you see what happened to her present. This brings us to one of the single most bizarre and revealing episodes in her entire royal story, the case of Archie's birth certificate. Here is what happened. When Archie was born, his official birth certificate was registered, as you would expect. On it, her name was listed as Rachel Meghan, her legal first and middle names. Then, just a few weeks later, a change was quietly made. Rachel Meghan was scrubbed. It was deleted. Her name was officially changed on the document to Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. And, just to add a layer of pure, baffling chaos, her occupation was changed to Princess of the United Kingdom, which, as we all know, she is not. Even Kate Middleton's occupation is listed as Princess, but not her name. The press, naturally, had an absolute field day. The tabloids immediately pounced, claiming this was an act of peak narcissism. They painted it as Meghan, obsessed with titles, demanding to be called Princess, and erasing her commoner name. They framed it as a petty, Diana-esque move to establish her brand. It was the perfect Meghan is a diva story, except it was not true. The real story, which came out much later via a clarification from her own team, was so much weirder. They claimed the change was not requested by her at all. It was a clerical change dictated by the palace. Let that sink in. It was not her vanity. It was protocol. The palace, the institution itself, went in and edited her identity on her child's birth certificate to fit their standards. They are the ones who erased Rachel Meghan and inserted the title. This moment is so much more telling than the tabloid version. It proves that this management of the narrative was not just coming from her. She was in a system that was also actively editing her life, sometimes without her even knowing. The unsolvable mystery. So, what does this all mean? We have the perfectly curated high school photos. We have the college photos, where the timeline feels wobbly. We have a family member legally challenging her age. We have a forgotten first husband who was allegedly dismissed by mail. We have a blog post that dismantles her biggest, naive talking point. And we have official documents being mysteriously altered by an ancient institution. It is a trail of breadcrumbs so weird and so compelling that it eventually broke containment. culminating in the infamous moment where Megyn Kelly looked straight into a camera and asked if Meghan Markle was actually over 50. She has so desperately tried to create the perfect, flawless narrative that she accidentally created the perfect, unsolvable mystery. The more you try to control every single detail of your story, the more you invite people to pick it apart. The real story here is not about a number. It is about the relentless, exhausting, 24/7 effort it takes to be Meghan Markle. And in that quest for a perfect story, she has ensured that we will always be wondering what exactly was left on the cutting room floor. What do you think? Is this all just a bizarre series of coincidences, or is there something to the story? Let me know your theories in the comments. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the Star Report for more hot celebrity tea.